I want to hear your thoughts on the LA protests, where, for context, for those who don't know, President Trump has deployed the California National Guard, as well as the Marines, to California to combat protests and engage in immigration raids. Where do you think this will go? Do you agree with Governor Newsom that this will spread to other states?
This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next.
Where do you think things continue to California? What are your thoughts on the situation?
Well, I think that when you have the kind of politics and the kind of behavior that's coming out of the Trump administration, when you have a progressive dehumanization of one immigrant group and one community after another, and when you have the kind of mass deportation that is now being launched and the kind of sort of snatch and grab operations where unidentified masked agents of the state basically ambush people in courthouses or in schools or workplaces, bundle them into cars and take them away, or put them in these makeshift detention centers in basements and so on, that you're stacking up a whole bunch of dissent. I mean, it's inevitable. When that kind of thing happens, you're going to have communities that are coming out in protest, because coming out in protest is a noble tradition. It's a noble part of the democratic tradition, and it helps us reset. It helps us sort of realize, all right, maybe the government's going too far, and the protests provide a moral barometer. So the protests are going to continue. Trump is itching for a fight. He's itching for a fight today with California, but tomorrow it will be some other city or some other state. He's itching to impose his sort of vision of a strongman rule on the country. And, you know, for years and years, that strongman vision has involved calling out the military and turning the military into a sort of political prop, which the military has historically been extremely reluctant to be. Its legitimacy comes from the fact that it's not a political prop. But Trump is breaking down that barrier. And if you go to LA, you'll see the 4,000 National Guardsmen. There's this deployment of 700 Marines. I don't think they're on the streets yet, or if they are, it's in very limited amounts. But there's this promise basically of 5,000 militarized soldiers and their vehicles in the streets of LA. That's dangerous. It's dangerous for, political reasons, because it really does corrode the democratic system, but it's dangerous much more sort of on the ground, in that people can get hurt. The military is trained to do military things, not to do civilian law enforcement. And when you put angry civilians against a military machine, bad things can happen. And, this is the real tragedy of this situation, is that you got a president of the United States, and it's not just the president, it's his henchmen. It's people like Tom Homan, it's people like Stephen Miller, it's people like Kristi Noem, it's people like Vice President Vance. You got these henchmen around him who are essentially egging him on and telling him, you got to impose your will, you got to impose your strength. Well, it's a recipe for a calamity. Whether that calamity happens in LA or Washington, D.C. or some other city or state, it's a recipe for disaster. And, I think that Newsom was absolutely right when he went on the radio and when he went on social media the other day, and he said, this is democracy under assault. This isn't just about LA, and it isn't just about, one act of civil disobedience or civil disturbance in LA. This is a real assault on fundamental parts of the American project. So that's my thoughts. That's a long answer to your question, but that's basically what I'm thinking about this.